Hello, we welcome you to this Bible study of the Banking Blessings Ministry. My name is Goodluck Afemu, and this is my wife.
Obi Afemu.
We welcome you this evening to a Bible study on an interaction between Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar. And we're going to use this interaction to remind ourselves that every competence comes from God, and to look at the various things that God expects us to be aware of in using the competence that He has given us to do things in various areas. This was really well illustrated in the interaction between Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar, when Daniel interpreted dream for the first time for Nebuchadnezzar. As I said, we will learn that competence is a gift from God. He gives every person the capability to do things in different areas. He gives every person the capability to develop and become a specialist or an expert in one area or the other, and be able to do things that benefit other people. And we find in this particular lesson that we're able to see that the gift of competence actually has two aspects: the capability to verify, to provide a verification of your competence, which people need from time to time in various ways, and then the capability to apply the competence you have to solve problems in the specific area. And because God gives these two aspects actually, and we can see in this interaction between Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar that he in fact emphasized that your competence includes, that the competence he gives each of us includes the capability to verify and capability to use. Because of that, we are reminded that you should always be prepared to respond to a demand for verification of competence. You should always expect that people, one way or the other, will demand that you verify your competence so that they can rely on you to put your competence in practice in solving a problem for them. And how we will learn this is to look at a specific case where King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. Then he called all his, we call them generally fortune tellers here, but the Bible calls them various things: magicians, sorcerers, seers, and whatever they were called. But they were people that were capable, or were assumed to be capable to see beyond ordinary human sight, to see what other people, ordinary human beings, cannot see. Have capability to interpret dreams, for example. So he called them and said, now I need you to interpret my dream. And he made placed a special condition. He said, first of all, you have to show me that you can interpret my dream, that I can rely on your interpretation. And the way he wanted them to show him was that they should tell him the dream that he had. Of course, the people gave up. They argued with him and said, look, what you are asking is impossible. Let me not give the details now, because we're going to talk about this. Then Daniel, when Nebuchadnezzar noticed that they were not going to do it, he gave an order that all of them should be killed. And this included, when he said all of them, he included all the wise men in Babylon, including Daniel and his people. So Daniel, we will see, invoked the competence of God. He asked God to give him the capability to interpret these dreams and to do exactly, to fulfill the demand that Nebuchadnezzar had made. Otherwise, Nebuchadnezzar was going to kill him along with the other people. God gave Daniel the knowledge, the wisdom he needed, and Daniel was able to satisfy Nebuchadnezzar's demand, the demand for verification of his competence, and the demand for him to interpret the dreams. And Daniel's interpretation was so good and so reliable, and his verification of his ability to interpret was also so correct, that Nebuchadnezzar acknowledged that his God, that Daniel's God, is God. He acknowledged that God has Daniel, the God that Daniel worshipped, which is the God we worship, has powers that others did not have. All of these will come from Daniel chapter 2. Well, we'll begin with Nebuchadnezzar's demand. He had a dream. He called all his fortune tellers and said, okay, I need you people to interpret the dream for me. They said, no. Well, okay, king, tell us your dream and we'll interpret it. He said, no. You people have done this to me so many times. This time I want you to prove to me that you can interpret my dream. And the way you prove is, you tell me my dream. Tell me what I dreamt. And then you interpret. Don't give me your usual gobbledygook. This is it. I need verification. Of course, they said, oh, no, you are being well, they didn't use those words, but they in fact said he was being unreasonable, that his demand could not be met by any human being. That it's only in their own language, it's only the gods who can do that, and they don't live, according to them, they don't live among people. So essentially they were saying, no, it was not possible, they could not do it. They declined. Let us read about this. It's a lengthy reading. First, Daniel chapter 2, verses 1 through 13. This is the interaction, the demand of Nebuchadnezzar on his people. Only you're going to read, and if you have any comment, you can just jump in anytime.
Okay. We're reading from Daniel chapter 2, the New International Version. Verse 1. In the second year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams. His mind was troubled and he could not sleep. So the king summoned the magicians, enchanters, sorcerers, and astrologers to tell him what he had dreamed. When they came in and stood before the king, he said to them, I have had a dream that troubles me, and I want to know what it means. Verse 4. Then the astrologers answered the king, May the king live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will interpret it. The king replied to the astrologers, This is what I have firmly decided. If you do not tell me what my dream was and interpret it, I will have you cut into pieces, and your houses turned into piles of rubble. Verse 6. But if you tell me the dream and explain it, you will receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. So tell me the dream and interpret it for me. Once more they replied, Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will interpret it. Then the king answered, I am certain that you are trying to gain time, because you realize that this is what I have firmly decided. If you do not tell me the dream, there is only one penalty for you. You have conspired to tell me misleading and wicked things, hoping the situation will change. So then, tell me the dream, and I will know that you can interpret it for me. The astrologers answered the king, There is no one on earth who can do what the king asks. No king, however great and mighty, has ever asked such a thing of any magician or enchanter or astrologer. What the king asks is too difficult. No one can reveal it to the king except the gods, and they do not live among humans. This made the king so angry and furious that he ordered the execution of all the wise men of Babylon. So the decree was issued to put the wise men to death, and men were sent to look for Daniel and his friends to put them to death.
Well, so they went to look for Daniel and his friends, even though really Daniel and his friends really weren't participants in this interaction, but the king has given an order to kill all the wise men of Babylon, and Daniel and his friends, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were considered among the wise men. So Daniel wanted to know why the king. He asked the person that came to him why the king gave such a harsh decree. What was going on? So this was explained to Daniel, and then he requested to see the king. He went to see the king. At this time, that it was somewhat easier for Daniel to gain access to the king, so he went to talk to the king. And then when he realized how serious the situation was, he requested that the king should give him more time. He wanted to go, and he didn't really say what he wanted to do, but he just said, look, give me more time. Let me consider what to do about your problem. I will be able to interpret your dream. Then the king agreed to give him more time. This request for time is very important, because what it really did was it enabled Daniel to preserve, it gave him an opportunity to seek input from God, to seek help from God. By getting a delay, by saying, okay, give us time to think about this. Now he had time to go and consult with his friends and pray and ask God for what to do. But before then, let us read this in verses 14 to 18 of Daniel chapter 2.
Daniel chapter 2, verse 14. When Arioch, the commander of the king's guard, had gone out to put to death the wise men of Babylon, Daniel spoke to him with wisdom and tact. He asked the king's officer, why did the king issue such a harsh decree? Arioch then explained the matter to Daniel. At this, Daniel went in to the king and asked for time, so that he might interpret the dream for him. Then Daniel returned to his house and explained the matter to his friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. He urged them to plead for mercy from God of heaven concerning this mystery, so that he and his friends might not be executed with the rest of the wise men of Babylon.
Well, Daniel knew that the king was serious, and he knew that the only way to get out of the king's, to be saved from execution was to do what the king wanted. But he recognized also that the only way that this can be done is if God did it through him. He had faith that God will find a way to help him and his friends so that they could save themselves from the king's decree. So he told his friends and said, look, we need to pray. We need to ask God for help. We don't really have anything else we can do. So they prayed and asked God to intervene to help them find a solution to the problem. So Daniel gained time, and they used that time as an opportunity to pray and interact with God and try to get an answer from him. Well, during the night, God revealed the dream to Daniel. Now, what really happened was God gave Daniel the capability not only to interpret the dream, but also to tell the dream, to recount the dream to Nebuchadnezzar. Because Nebuchadnezzar had made that a condition, that for you to interpret the dream, first you have to tell me what I dreamed, so that I can rely on your interpretation, so that I know that your interpretation will be genuine. So God gave this knowledge to Daniel and said, okay, here is what the dream is, and you go and tell Nebuchadnezzar. So Daniel was able to verify that he can interpret the dream. He was able to satisfy Nebuchadnezzar that he can interpret the dream that he had dreamed, by telling him, by reproducing the dream to him, and then he interpreted the dream. When Nebuchadnezzar heard Daniel's account of the dream, that is Daniel's recounting of the dream, he believed Daniel's interpretation. He accepted Daniel's interpretation, and then he said that it looks like I'm jumping the gun here. After Daniel had done the interpretation, after Daniel had received this power from God, he praised God. He had a special prayer. We are not going to go through the entire prayer, but we will look at specific aspects of the prayer, because there Daniel talked about what just happened, what God had done for him. Let us read the prayer, Daniel's prayer, in Daniel chapter 2, verses 19 to 23.
Daniel chapter 2, verse 19. During the night the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a vision. Then Daniel praised the God of heaven and said, Praise be to the name of God forever and ever. Wisdom and power are his.
He said, he's telling everybody to praise God, because every knowledge, every ability to solve problems, every competence comes from God. That God has just demonstrated to him that he is the giver of wisdom and power and skill and everything that we are capable of doing. That the capability to do things, the capability to solve problems, the capability to resolve situations, that every one of these comes from God. Of course, here Daniel was talking about the miraculous power that God had given him overnight. But in fact, this extends to every human competence. That everything, yes, you go to school and learn to become a doctor, a pharmacist, an engineer, or a lawyer. What you are really getting is the capability to solve problems in certain areas of human endeavor. And what Daniel was saying here, was reminding us here, was that this capability comes from God, that God gives it. And he's saying, praise God, everybody.
Verse 21, He changes times and seasons. He deposes kings and raises up others. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the discerning. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what lies in darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank and praise you, God of my ancestors. You have given me wisdom and power. You have made known to me what we asked of you. You have made known to us the dream of the king.
So that brings us to what is competence. Of course, you can go to the dictionary and they will give you several words, but all it is that competence is really the ability to do things, ability to solve problems, ability to explain things. Any kind of human ability is really competence in certain area of human endeavor. And this comes from God. God gives competence for every person in a specific, well, not a, some have more than one. So in specific areas of human need, your competence may be in as a teacher, your competence may be a lawyer, your competence may be in engineering, your competence may be in medicine, or in any area of that human beings may need one type of service or the other. Now, it often requires human input to develop competence, but that doesn't change the fact that it is the intervention of God, it's God's intervention in the things that we do as human beings, that it is through his intervention that he transforms the things we do. He transforms our learning into the development of competence in one area or the other. Now the competence, one of the things that we learn through this interaction with between God and Daniel, and interaction between Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar, is that the competence that God gives us actually covers two areas. One is verification. When he gives you ability to do things, that also comes with the ability to verify to people, to the satisfaction of people, that you can do those things. That is ability to satisfy demand for proof of competence, and the ability to apply your competence in a specific area to solve a problem. So Daniel went to Nebuchadnezzar, and this is a very lengthy part of Daniel chapter 2. We are not really going to read it, but there are two things he did there. One was, first of all, he proved that he could interpret, he could provide reliable interpretation to Nebuchadnezzar. And the way he proved that, of course, was the way that Nebuchadnezzar demanded that the person that will interpret the dream, first of all, tell him the dream. So Daniel told the dream, and this is described in Daniel chapter 2, verses 29 to 35. We are not going to read it. And then after he told the dream, he provided the interpretation. Of course, Nebuchadnezzar knew what he dreamed. So he was able to hear, he was able to determine if what Daniel told him was correct. But then he didn't know the meaning of his dream. So that depended on his reliance on his it depended on his belief in Daniel's interpretation, on his acceptance of Daniel's interpretation. And that acceptance is based on the verification that Daniel made earlier. This is the same principle that applies in almost every area of competence. In fact, even before you are considered competent in a field, often there is an exam you have to take, or often there is a certification, but we'll talk about that briefly later. Daniel interpreted the dream, which is he applied the competence that he had been given, and this is described in Daniel chapter 2, verses 36 to 45. We're not going to read it. And because Nebuchadnezzar accepted everything Daniel did and received the message, he joined Daniel actually in acknowledging that the power of God, acknowledging the competence of God. Let us read verses 26 to 28 and verse 47 of that interaction. We're not going to read the whole thing, but just these 4 verses, because they kind of capture the cogent information.
Daniel chapter 2, verse 26. The king asked Daniel, also called Belshazzar, "Are you able to tell me what I saw in my dream and interpret it?" Daniel replied, "No wise man, enchanter, magician, or diviner can explain to the king the mystery he has asked about. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. He has shown King Nebuchadnezzar what will happen in days to come, Your dream and the visions that passed through your minds as you were lying in bed are these.
Well, essentially, Daniel said, look, your dream is a message from God, and here is the message. And this is how he interpreted that this is what he told Nebuchadnezzar, to let him understand that this was no ordinary dream, that there was something very important that was being conveyed to him from God through him, Daniel. Verse 47.
Verse 47. The king said to Daniel, surely your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings and the revealer of mysteries, for you were able to reveal this mystery.
So your God is competent and surpasses all. He is greater than all these other things that we worship. All these deities that they worshipped. That's Daniel's God. He acknowledged that the God that Daniel worshipped was greater and more powerful than any of those other ones, because he revealed the message. He revealed the message to him through Daniel. Essentially, he acknowledged the power of God, even though he really didn't. He would go on to continue to worship what he worshipped, but at this very moment, he acknowledged, at least through his lips, he acknowledged the power of God. So, winding down here is that one of the lessons we learn from this is that not only that God gives competence, but God wants us to be aware that people from time to time may require us to verify our competence before they can rely on our application of the competence. And verification of competence, the demand may come in various forms. An example may be certification. People, you have to go through a process in order to be certified as competent in a given field, or in smaller cases, demonstration example, like in our area of engineering, we are often asked to solve simple problems that people know the solution before we can apply our methods to more complicated problems that people don't know the solution. So solving the simple problem, it's like verification. It's like Nebuchadnezzar asking his people to tell him his dream before they interpreted it. Of course, there are various ways you get punished for failing to verify your competence. One could be you are denied certification, or somebody can refuse to use your service and say, look, I don't really know what kind of doctor you are, but I'm not going to submit myself to your treatment. So these are the kind of things. Of course, Nebuchadnezzar used an extreme example to illustrate punishment for failure to verify competence, and he issued a decree to execute all his fortune tellers and said they were of no value. Of course, Daniel saved them. We didn't really go into that aspect of the interaction. So what we learn here is that every competence is a gift from God, and each one of us is given the competence to accomplish things in various areas, in one or more areas, and each competence comes with the capability to verify and the capability to apply. And when Daniel asked God to give him the power, the knowledge to satisfy Nebuchadnezzar's demand so that he wouldn't be killed, God gave him the details of Nebuchadnezzar's Nebuchadnezzar's dream so that Daniel could recount the dreams to him, and then the meaning of the dream so that Daniel could interpret the dreams. So he gave Daniel the capability he gave Daniel the competence to interpret the dreams, and then capability to verify the competence. So the lesson we draw from there is that every competence comes from God, and with every competence, the capability to verify the competence. Of course, competence is not just, in the case of Daniel, it was a magical power that he was given overnight. But in a lot of cases, competence is developed through learning, through human effort, of course with God's intervention. An important lesson from this night's Bible study is that you should always be prepared to respond to a demand to verify your competence, because that's part of the power that that is a component of the competence that God has given you, the capability to verify. But not just that capability, but you should recognize that at various times people will demand and have a right to demand verification of your competence. I know.
Yeah, it's been interesting. To me, part of what I learned from this particular study is that the Bible study is not focusing on the dream and the content of the dream and really what transpired between Nebuchadnezzar and his astrologers and Daniel, because those were processes that were set up by God to prove and demonstrate one thing to Nebuchadnezzar, that is God's awesome might and power, because Nebuchadnezzar had previously become defiant by the things he did before. So God was set to prove otherwise. But when I look at the issue of Daniel and what he did, it's remarkable that both Nebuchadnezzar's astrologers and Daniel all agreed that no man can do what the king wanted them to do, which was be able to recall the dream. No man can do that. Both Daniel and the Babylonian astrologers attested to that. But the difference between the idol worshippers and Daniel was the fact that the idol worshippers, and that's what I call the Babylonians, they said the gods don't live amongst men. But Daniel realized that he can go back to his God, the God of his ancestors, and ask of him to be merciful to them so that they won't be killed, and give us the answer that we look for. And for me, it's important in the sense that Daniel, he knew him and his 3 friends were, not just normal people. They had a natural ability. They were intelligent. That's why they were taken away from their people.
From Judah.
Yes, from Judah. So they didn't rely on that, their natural intelligence and their natural ability. They knew they wanted something more from God. And it's only in the process of trying to save them that God will give them this. So they went to pray. So, a lot of times we tend to depend on our intelligence and the things we know. Even when we have come to the end of the road, or the end of our own knowledge. We easily say, there's nothing more I can do. Nobody can do this. It's not possible. Especially in medical science. Especially when you're confronted with things that, as Christians, we should always realize that there's no end to the competence you have. There's no end to the natural ability you have. So long as there is a God in heaven. So long as there is a God to whom all powers belong, and to whom all knowledge and wisdom belong. I'm by profession, I'm a research scientist, and oftentimes I find myself praying for God to grant me wisdom and guide me to be able to crack a particular obstacle, a particular point where I've come in an experiment or research, where I think that, hey, I don't understand what is happening anymore from my human knowledge. So it's very, very important, because with this, we can actually help be able to show the power of God to a dying world.
Yeah.
We're able to show that it's not by our power nor by our might. But if Daniel didn't go to pray, God wouldn't have said, Daniel and your 3 friends, come, this is what it is.
Yeah.
They made an effort.
Yes.
And they went to pray. And God demonstrated himself by that their singular act. So it's very important that no matter what we're doing, let's not limit ourselves with our human knowledge. Because God is a God that can go far above and beyond what you think you know. That is something that comes very clear to me in what Daniel did. And another thing is, you see, when Daniel heard they were going to be killed, he said, what brought about this? But the first thing he did after that was say, okay, I'm going to pray. He didn't panic. If he panicked, that's a sign of hopelessness. And we panic, we make a lot of mistakes. But he went to pray. Okay? Prayer confirms your hope. Prayer confirms your hope and panic.
Your belief that there is more.
Yes, and panic induces hopelessness.
Yeah.
So when we are confronted, one thing we always should think of is prayer. And in the place of prayer, don't limit God, because you have opened a channel for him to demonstrate himself and thereby help another human being.
Yes.
So it's all about knowing what to do and reliance on God in this kind of situation. There's no knowledge that is limiting.
Yeah.
There's no knowledge that is limiting. And I express this so much because a lot of people die these days when they say, oh, this disease has no cure. Oh, this one has nothing can be done. No, who can say no when God who is the embodiment of all knowledge? But then we have to be able to demonstrate that and say, God, help me to help this person. What more can I do for this person? And give God a chance to work.
Yes, that is very good, and I'm happy you said that, because it really reinforces that God is the giver of competence, and if you think that you have reached the limit of your competence, that is when you should pray more. Have faith in God. Have faith in the knowledge that he has given you, even though at that time you are not quite sure how to apply that knowledge to go the next step to solve that problem.
Have an open mind.
Yeah.
And faith that God can do beyond what you know.
Yes, the faith, the kind of faith that Daniel applied in this situation. And God will guide you. And really these are things that he does, and there are, we're both living examples. This will be a different study where we will be able to recount some of the experience we've had where something became very difficult, but through prayer and consistent belief that God will show you a way, you actually find a way to solve the problem. We thank you for participating with us in this Bible study, and we pray that you have learned something that will reinforce your belief in God, that will strengthen your faith and bring you closer and closer to the capabilities, to fulfillment of the capabilities that God has given you. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.
God bless you.